Hello and welcome to Exchange Server 2016 Data Loss Prevention. Data loss prevention is one of the important compliance management tool in Exchange Server 2016 to secure your sensitive data. When I say sensitive data, it means to say that, for example, your social security card numbers, your credit card information, your ID card information, or any other personal information. So in most organizations, their customer information is very sensitive to them. They never want to send their social security information, their credit card information um, outside on internet, for example. So they always want to make sure that whenever someone tries to send like a social security number or credit card information, like by mistake or on purpose, it should be blocked. So data loss prevention in Exchange Server 2016 helps to simply uh, defend you from those people who just try to send your sensitive information outside, or it helps you to make sure that your sensitive data is always safe. So data loss prevention is configured in compliance management, and one thing that before I just create DLP policy, I want to tell you is that compliance management, data loss prevention. Data loss prevention is configured in two ways. The first is through data loss prevention, where you create a policy, and the second thing is in rules. So data loss prevention works through these two options. So whenever you create data loss prevention, the next step is to create a rule, and the rule will be created when you create a data loss prevention policy, but you can still modify. So what can you do in data loss prevention? You can select a template, and then those templates are already created, which are like based on standards like HIPAA, security number, uh, like different standards that is and laws that is defined by different organizations, where you can use one of those standards in order to secure your sensitive information. So the first step is to create a template, or is to configure a template through data loss prevention. Once you do that, this is the step one. The step two to complete the configuration for data loss prevention is to work on these rules. So rules defines actions, what to do, like if and else statements. For example, if the subject matches this, do this. If the body matches this, do this. If an email have got an attachment with a file of Excel with this name, deny, allow, or anything that you want you define. So step two is this. So let's get started. So data loss prevention, simply click here and say new data loss prevention from the template. So these are the different templates. So this is something that I was talking about. So different standards, security standards like HIPAA. Uh, you are familiar with it. And one of the others that I want to tell you is, for example, um, PII. This is another thing. So you see HIPAA. These are different standards that most of you should already know what are these. So these are different standards where it defines different policies, different actions to just secure your organization, to secure the information. So what I want to do in here is I want to use personal identifiable information. So this is one of the things, for example, including information such as social security numbers, driver license numbers. So you want to secure these. So I want to name it secure DR SSN. Anything you can name it based on your requirements. So I have selected one of those templates to secure the driving license and social security numbers, all those things. So as I said, this was step number one. The step number two is go to the rules. But one thing that I want to show you in here is you can use policy tips to notify user about policy matches. For example, you can notify the sender and tell the sender, for example, notify the sender what? In English language, for example, you want to notify the user or send an in, in English language, please, for example, please do not send this information as it is sensitive. You are blocked. Anything that you want to type. So save, it is going to notify the user. So it says that action you're trying to configure already exists. Okay, I have already created one, so I can say edit this and then notify the sender. This is already created, so I can either delete this, for example, yes, and then I can recreate. Notify the sender in English language or any other language that you want. You are blocked. So you are notifying the sender whenever the sender sends a message from your organization, um, and send a sensitive information. The message will tell you you're blocked because DLP has blocked you because you're sending sensitive information outside. So as I said, this is the step number one. The step number two is go to mail flow and then go to rules. So these are rules that you can configure, transport rules. These are also called transport rules. So whenever you configure transport rules, what are you doing is you are telling the Exchange server that when a message comes from a user and it goes out, and if it matches certain conditions, for example, when Jeff sends an email to John, who is like outside user, and whenever Jeff sends an email with the subject line of SSN, and then in the body there's like social security number, or the attachment is like a Word file, and then the Word file has the name of SSN information, block it. Do not block it, allow it. So you're just defining certain rules or policies where you are just telling the Exchange server when an email goes from one place to another place, if they matches these conditions, allow it, block it, what you do. So you can see that these are already created in here because these PII, if you remember, we just created in compliance management. So it is already created, but the main thing that you do is in here. So you are defining these rules. Now you configure what you created, that a template in DLP. Now you can configure these uh, policies in here, which is in rules. So for example, if I say scan email sent outside, if I simply edit it, and then you will see that these are different conditions. Apply this rule if the recipient is located outside the organization. So what are you telling is that scan email sent outside. Whenever Jeff sends an email to John, who is like a user outside your organization, john at gmail.com or hotmail.com, apply this rule, so the message is going to be sent, and the message contains sensitive information. If the message contains taxpayer identification number, US social security number, passport number, so Jeff, whenever you send an email outside to John, it will be scanned through data loss prevention, and then it will check if you are sending TIN number, and it will also check if you're using SSN number, and it will also check if you are sending passport number. You can add more conditions in here, and you can say the sender is, for example, the sender is this person, is a member of this group, or this, for example, this person, and I select Jeff in here. Jeff, we don't trust you. So we are just defining a policy just for Jeff, saying that whenever a sender is Jeff and he's sending an email outside the organization, and if those include these informations, and then we are telling it that do the following: notify the sender, um, block the message, reject the message and include an explanation, and then redirect messages, forward messages for approval. Do not send it. So you are controlling all your sensitive information, which is really, really good. So now if Jeff do anything wrong, he will be caught. So not only Jeff, so I don't have any personal issues with Jeff. So don't just get me wrong. So what can we do in here is like we can define different policies, test without policy tips, test with policy tips, enforce. So you can test it first with the policy tip that we created in compliance management, or you can simply enforce, and then you can also use this option to activate this rule from this time to this time. Stop processing more rules. Uh, these are the different options that you can use in your transport rules. So I'll simply save it. Okay, and then now if you send an email with matching all those conditions, it's not gonna send. So that's how you can configure DLP. So your homework is to create a DLP and then work on text limit exceed, attachment not supported, like what attachments are not supported, and allow override. And then just send me a message if you have any questions and let me know if you have really done it. So I hope this was informative for you, and I'll see you in next lecture.